Here's the terrifying truth about toxic relationships. They don't announce themselves with warning signs. No dramatic fights, no obvious red flags, no cold neglect from day one. Instead, 90% of the most devastating relationships you'll ever experience begin exactly like a dream come true. Picture this. You meet someone new, and within the first week, something feels electric. Not just pleasant and tense. They're texting you good morning before you've even opened your eyes. Their replies come instantly, as if they've been waiting by their phone. They say things like, "I've never felt this kind of connection with anyone," or "Where have you been my whole life?" 10 days in, and they're already planning a vacation with you 6 months from now. Your friends are thrilled. You finally found someone amazing. Your family approves. They seem absolutely perfect. And your own instincts whisper, "This is it. This is what safety feels like. This is love." But what if that perfection isn't compatibility at all? What if that overwhelming intensity is actually your first and most critical warning sign? Welcome to the psychological warfare of love bombing. This isn't romance. This is a calculated manipulation tactic weaponized by narcissists and predators to hijack your brain's reward circuitry. It's affection used as a tool for one singular purpose: to make you psychologically dependent on them so quickly and so completely that when their mask inevitably slips, leaving becomes almost impossible. You might be thinking, "But my partner is just really affectionate," or "This doesn't apply to us. We have something special." I had those exact thoughts once. Then I studied the neuroscience behind it. In this video, we're dissecting why love bombing feels like pure magic while being pure poison. We'll examine the 3-stage cycle that ensnares intelligent, self-aware people into nightmares they never saw approaching. Most crucially, I'll show you how to distinguish genuine connection from psychological entrapment. By the end, you'll possess the clarity to identify a love bomber within the first 15 minutes of meeting them, potentially saving yourself months or years of suffering. Because the person who rushes to worship you is usually the same person who will destroy you the moment you stop feeding their ego. Let's begin. First, understand the mechanism. It's called idealization, though psychologists often describe it as mirroring. Think back to the beginning. Remember how it felt like you'd finally met someone who truly understood you? You casually mentioned your love for obscure 80s jazz. Suddenly, they're buying concert tickets. You opened up about your complicated relationship with your father. They immediately shared their own eerily similar family trauma. You thought, destiny. The science says, data mining. A love bomber doesn't fall for you. They study you. During those early conversations where you're being vulnerable and authentic, they're conducting reconnaissance. They're cataloging your insecurities, your aspirations, your unmet emotional needs. Then, they simply become a reflection of those needs. A human mirror. If you're craving security, they transform into your protector. If you're seeking adventure, they become spontaneous and wild. They're not revealing their authentic self. They're performing the exact role you've been unconsciously auditioning someone to fill. And because human psychology is hardwired to seek validation, you don't question the coincidence. You just feel profoundly seen. This triggers a neurochemical cascade in your brain, a surge of dopamine, your pleasure neurotransmitter, and oxytocin, your bonding hormone. This biochemical cocktail is legitimately more potent than many recreational drugs. Your brain rapidly begins associating this person with ultimate reward and comfort. You start needing their presence to feel baseline normal. Then, precisely when your brain has become chemically dependent on this high, the trap closes. This launches the second phase, where 90% of people become ensnared, the shift. One day, the constant communication evaporates. The compliments vanish. Maybe they make a cutting remark about what you're wearing, or they leave your message on read for 6 hours with zero explanation. The person who recently acted like you hung the moon is suddenly distant, cold, or subtly cruel. Your brain enters crisis mode. Your dopamine source has been severed. You're not simply sad, you're in biochemical withdrawal. The questions spiral. What did I do wrong? Did I say something stupid? Is there someone else? So you try to repair it. You become more attentive. You apologize for transgressions you didn't commit. You contort yourself into the perfect partner, desperately hoping the warm, loving version of them will return. And occasionally, they do return. They toss you a crumb, a genuine smile, a sweet text. You feel overwhelming relief flooding through you. Thank God, we're okay again. But this isn't love. This is operant conditioning. In behavioral psychology, we call it intermittent reinforcement. Picture a casino slot machine. If you pulled the lever and won every single time, you'd eventually lose interest. If you never won, you'd walk away immediately. But if the machine is unpredictable, big wins sometimes, crushing losses other times, never knowing which is coming, you'll sit there until you've lost everything. That's exactly what your brain does in a toxic relationship. The love bomber has become a slot machine. The coldness represents losses. The affection represents wins. And because the rewards are random and unpredictable, your brain becomes obsessed with chasing the next hit. You stop evaluating how they actually treat you and start living for the potential of how good it could be again. You stay not because you're happy, but because you're addicted to the cycle of hope and dread. I'll never forget the moment I understood this. I was staring at my phone, anxiety churning, waiting for a text from someone who'd called me their soulmate just 2 weeks earlier. My stress levels were catastrophic. I couldn't concentrate on work, couldn't think about anything, except why one person had decided to withdraw their attention. That's when it crystallized. This isn't love, this is control. But the addiction isn't even the most destructive part, because once they know you're hooked, once they understand you'll chase their validation no matter what, they move to the final, most damaging phase, the devaluation. Now, the mask disintegrates completely. The qualities they claim to love about you, suddenly they're irritating. Your laugh is too loud. Your ambition is threatening. Your needs are exhausting. They begin rewriting reality itself. When you mention their cold behavior, they tell you you're being too sensitive or imagining things. This is textbook gaslighting. The objective is making you doubt your own perception. They want you believing the problem isn't their behavior, it's your reaction to it. They want you convinced that if you could just be better, calmer, less demanding, the golden period would come back. Here's the brutal reality. The golden period never existed. The person you fell for in that first month isn't real. That was a performance designed to capture you. The person you're dealing with now, cold, critical, manipulative, that's who they actually are. Most people waste years trying to resurrect a ghost. So, how do you break free? How do you distinguish genuine interest from love bombing? It comes down to one crucial difference: pace. Authentic love develops gradually. It respects boundaries. It builds trust over time. A healthy partner wants to discover the real you, flaws, quirks, contradictions, and all, without rushing the process. They don't pressure you to define the relationship prematurely. They don't demand constant access to you. Most importantly, they're consistent. A love bomber accelerates everything. They want commitment before learning your middle name. They crave intensity, not intimacy. If you feel like you're being swept off your feet, pause. You might be getting swept into a trap. But recognizing the pattern is only half the battle. Walking away is where it gets brutally hard. This brings us to the most critical part of this entire conversation: the reframe. If you're watching this and thinking, "Oh God, this is exactly what happened to me," your first instinct is probably shame. You're telling yourself, "How could I be so blind? How did I allow this? I'm supposed to be intelligent." Stop, right there. You weren't naive. You were targeted. And here's something crucial. Love bombers don't prey on weak people. They hunt for individuals with high empathy. They seek out people who have depth to offer. They target people willing to see the best in others and give second chances. Your brain was functioning exactly as evolution designed it. We're social creatures, neurologically wired for connection. When someone mirrors us perfectly, when someone offers apparent safety and unconditional love, our biology responds with, "Yes, this is exactly what we need." The problem wasn't your instincts. The problem was encountering a predator who'd learned to exploit them. You were playing the game of authentic human connection, while they were playing the game of power and control. You cannot win a game when you don't even realize you're playing. Here's the perspective shift that changes everything. The love bomber appears powerful. They seem like the prize, the one holding all the cards, because they can grant or revoke affection at will, keeping you constantly off balance. But in reality, they're fundamentally hollow. Narcissists and manipulators use love bombing precisely because they possess no genuine internal self-worth. They're essentially black holes. They require your admiration, your attention, your emotional reactions, just to feel momentarily alive. They're feeding off your energy. This is why psychologists call it narcissistic supply. You're not the desperate one. They are. They need you to reflect back that they're fascinating, charming, desirable, special. Without you, without your reactions, they collapse into their own emptiness. Once you truly grasp this, you reclaim your power. You realize the discard phase when they abandon you or treat you as worthless isn't a reflection of your value. It's simply evidence that they've depleted you as a resource and are moving toward a fresh source of supply. It's agonizing. It feels like annihilation, but it's actually liberation. So what do you do now? The only way to defeat a love bomber is to refuse to play. You cannot fix them. You cannot love them into becoming a better person. You cannot explain how deeply they wounded you because they genuinely don't care. They know. They just don't care. The only solution is no contact. Block their number. Block all social media. Don't seek closure. Closure is a fairy tale with these individuals. Your closure is the fact that you survived. If no contact is impossible because you share children or a workplace, employ the gray rock technique. You become as emotionally uninteresting as a stone. No strong emotions, no dramatic reactions. Brief, neutral responses. Starve them of the supply they crave, and eventually, they'll seek it elsewhere. It's going to be excruciating. Your brain will literally scream for that dopamine hit. But each day you maintain distance, the fog lifts a little more. And eventually, you'll wake up and realize you don't need chaos to feel alive anymore. You'll rediscover peace. And peace, real peace, is the deepest form of happiness. I want you to ask yourself something honest. Are you in a relationship where anxiety outweighs safety? Do you feel like you're constantly auditioning, trying to earn the role of partner you thought was already yours? If the answer is yes, it's time to examine the reality of your situation, not its potential. Now, listen carefully. Escaping a love bomber carries its own dangers, because when they realize they're losing control, they often escalate into something far more frightening: narcissistic rage. In the next video, I'm exposing the devastating tactics they deploy when you finally attempt to leave, and the exact strategies you need to protect yourself. Trust me, you cannot afford to miss this, because being prepared could be the difference between maintaining your sanity and losing it entirely. Hit subscribe right now and activate notifications so you're ready when it releases. You've got this.